Not everything that makes sense survives contact with reality. And some things, the more you think about them, the less real they feel. This isn't a collection of facts. It's a mirror with cracks, where logic bends and certainty shatters. Here, even truth can fold in on itself. You'll meet games that never end, doors you can never reach, and choices you never really made. This is not to confuse you. It's to remind you that confusion is sometimes the clearest path to deeper clarity. You won't get answers here, but you will find the questions you've been avoiding. And maybe, by the end, you'll stop asking, "Is this real?" and start asking, "What else have I been wrong about?" The game that never ends. Imagine this. There's a game where you simply pick any game that eventually ends. Simple enough. But then someone chooses that game as their pick. A game about picking a game. And suddenly, it folds into itself. You're now playing a game, about playing a game, about playing a game, and it never ends. This is the spiral of systems that include themselves. Recursive traps, rules that obey their own reflection. We build them all the time. This law applies to all laws. This truth includes itself. This system moderates itself. But eventually it chokes. Because when something tries to control itself while existing inside itself, it either spirals forever or collapses entirely. Think of it like trying to lift yourself by your own shoulders. It looks reasonable until you try. Some things break not because they're flawed, but because they try too hard to be flawless. And some games aren't meant to be won. They're meant to show you the edge of logic, the scale you can't trust. You hold a ruler to measure a strange object. But then a strange question enters your mind. Who measured the ruler? This is the paradox of broken standards. Every measurement we trust, moral, legal, emotional, is based on something else. But what if that base is wrong? Now zoom into physics. A ruler moving near the speed of light appears shorter to someone watching. Zoom further. At the quantum level, the act of observing can change the thing being observed. And if you're measuring time, your own heartbeat changes the tempo. So what's real? This paradox asks something deeper than accuracy. It asks, is your perspective distorting the truth you're trying to find? If your only reference point is you, how do you know you're not lost? Maybe the problem isn't the world. It's the lens we refuse to question. The door that's always halfway. Picture yourself walking toward a door just a meter away. You take a step half the distance, then half of what's left, then half of that again. You keep moving, but mathematically you never reach the door. Each step is progress, but you never arrive. This is the paradox of unreachable ends. Even though you move forward, the goal is infinitely sliced into smaller pieces. A trap of fractions. A journey that should finish but never does. Yet in real life, we do reach the door. We move, we touch, we cross. So what's wrong? The logic or the world? This riddle whispers that some ideas break down when stretched too thin. Just because something makes sense in numbers doesn't mean it works in reality. And maybe that's how change works too. You don't feel it. It doesn't show up as one big leap. It's 1,000 half steps, slowly collapsing the distance until one day you're through the door and you don't even notice. The endless hotel. Imagine a hotel with rooms numbered from 1 to infinity. Every room is full. No vacancy. Then someone new shows up at the door. Instead of turning them away, the manager smiles. He tells every guest to move to the next room. Room 1 to 2, room 2 to 3, and just like that, room 1 is free. More guests arrive, hundreds, thousands, infinite. Still space is found. This is the hotel of infinity. Logic collapses. Our instincts scream. If something is full, it's full. But infinity doesn't play by human rules. It stretches. It absorbs. It never says no. Apply it to time, space, even ideas. You think your mind is full, then a new thought fits anyway. You think the world can't take more chaos, then somehow it does. The paradox here isn't just math. It's a reminder. Some systems are too big for common sense. And sometimes the space you need already exists, you just have to move everything else forward. The promise that bites itself. You're told, there will be a surprise tomorrow. You won't know when, but it's coming. So you think, can't be Friday. If it hasn't come by Thursday, then Friday becomes obvious. So not Friday. Then Thursday becomes the last possible day, so it's not that either. You reason your way through the week. You decide it won't happen, but then one morning it does. This is the paradox of the promised surprise. When we try to outsmart unpredictability, we kill it. But real surprise lives outside our logic. It's not just a puzzle, it's a truth about life. The more you try to calculate what will happen, the less you understand what's actually unfolding. And the moment you think you've figured it all out, that's usually the moment you're blindsided. The brain wants control, but reality prefers chaos with a grin. The machine that builds itself. Picture a machine that can replicate itself perfectly. Then its copy makes another, and so on. Over and over, it duplicates. First, nothing seems strange. But fast forward 100 generations. The design starts to shift. Slight changes appear. A screw is smaller. A wire is rerouted. The code is altered. Now ask, is the new machine still the original? This is the paradox of evolving creators. We believe replication brings consistency, but with enough cycles, even perfect copies mutate. Now imagine this with people, with traditions, with stories. Are we still who we were? Or are we just the latest version, shaped by countless rewrites? This paradox lives in biology, technology, and even psychology. If something rewrites itself enough times, does it become something new, or is it still echoing its origin? In the end, we are machines too, self-replicating minds, rebuilt each day by memory, mistake, and change. And maybe that's the scariest question of all. What happens when you forget who made you? The barber's dilemma. In a strange village, there's a rule. The town's one barber shaves only those who don't shave themselves. Simple rule. Until one day someone asks, who shaves the barber? If he shaves himself, he breaks the rule. He only shaves those who don't. But if he doesn't shave himself, he must shave himself, because he shaves those who don't. Trapped both ways. This is the paradox of recursive authority. When a system is asked to regulate itself, contradiction is inevitable. We see this everywhere. Institutions that govern themselves, justice systems trying to be impartial to their own flaws, minds trying to analyze themselves without bias. At some point, the hand drawing the line ends up sketching itself into a corner. The problem isn't the barber. The problem is the rule. And maybe in life, some questions don't break because they're wrong. They break because they ask the system to do something it was never built for. The silent card. Picture a card. On one side, it says, "The sentence on the other side is true." You flip it. The other side reads, "The sentence on the other side is false." Now you're stuck. If the first side is true, the second must be false. But the second says the first is false. It's not just confusion. It's a loop, a circuit without ground. This is the paradox of layered contradiction. A quiet war between two halves that can't coexist, yet refuse to separate. It's how we often talk. "I'm not angry, I'm just honest. I never lie except when I need to. I'm fine," says someone breaking. We live in these split truths, words that cancel themselves, promises built on conditions that undo them. The paradox isn't on the card, it's in us. We flip between honesty and denial, between vulnerability and defense. And sometimes the most dangerous lies are the ones that sound just logical enough to believe. The race that never ends. Two people start a race. The first runs fast. The second slower, but every time the first reaches a point, the second gets a little closer. In theory, the slower one should never catch up. There's always a new gap. But in reality, people overtake. Finishes happen. This is the illusion of infinite halves. The brain's attempt to turn movement into math and math into eternity. The paradox whispers, progress is impossible. But the world shouts back, we move anyway. That's how healing works, how growth works. You don't leap across the void. You walk toward it, again and again. Halfway, then half of that, then half again, until the gap no longer matters. And one day, you find yourself past the line you thought you'd never cross. The truth that eats itself. A man stands on stage and says, "I'm lying right now." If it's true, then he's lying, which makes it false. If it's false, then he's telling the truth, which makes it true. This is the echo chamber of self-reference, a statement devouring its own foundation. It's more than a joke. It's a mirror we hold to our certainty. The moment we try to define truth in terms of itself, we get lost. Think of modern noise. Social media statements that declare their own falseness, ideologies that dismantle themselves while preaching their perfection. Even thought itself can collapse when the thinker questions the value of thinking. This paradox isn't about the man. It's about us. We want truth to stand solid. But sometimes, truth is a tightrope, shaking over a pit of logic. And the more you try to balance, the more you realize there may be no ground at all. The choice that was never yours. You stand before two paths. You think, you weigh the options, you decide. You believe you've chosen. But the moment you act, you wonder, was this really your will? Or just the only move the system allowed? This is the paradox of chosen inevitability. You feel free because you picked a direction. But was there ever truly another? Or were you always going to walk this one? The brain demands authorship. But decisions are often preloaded by upbringing, fear, instinct, desire. You click before you even know why. And when you trace it back, you find your reasons were given to you by a self that was shaped before you began thinking at all. You're free to act, but not to want differently. So what is freedom if the engine of choice is rigged? The observer who destroys the moment. You look at someone in love, and the moment you ask them to explain it, they hesitate. The words kill the feeling. You feel at peace until you try to capture it. Then it disappears. This is the paradox of conscious collapse. The moment you observe something deeply, you change it, measure it, and it moves. Describe it, and it dissolves. It happens in quantum particles. It happens in your own mind. We chase insight, but the very act of analyzing life often disturbs the thing we hope to understand. Sometimes peace is real only when it goes unquestioned. Sometimes beauty dies when you try to own it, and in trying to preserve the present, you lose it. The honesty trap. You vow to always be honest. That's your virtue. But soon you're forced to lie, to protect someone, to shield a truth, to survive. Now the question slithers in. Is breaking honesty wrong? Or is honesty itself flawed? This is the paradox of the pure vow. The more absolute your principle, the faster it becomes brittle. If you promise to never lie, what happens when silence would save someone? Or when truth becomes a weapon? Your virtue now becomes your prison, and the harder you cling, the more it cuts into you. You didn't fail the promise. The promise failed reality. The more you know, the less you're sure. A beginner walks into a subject and says, "I get it." A master walks deeper and whispers, "I never truly did." This is the paradox of expanding ignorance. The more light you shine, the larger the shadow gets. You learn something, and suddenly you're aware of what you don't know. The deeper you go, the more complex it becomes. What felt clear now feels contradictory. And the ones most confident, they're often standing at the surface. The wise hesitate not because they're confused, but because they've seen what confusion actually is. True understanding is realizing how fragile knowledge really is. The identity that changes to survive. You start by standing for something, an ideal, a belief, a version of yourself. But the world pushes, it bruises, it threatens. So you bend, adjust, adapt, and slowly you no longer look like what you began as. But here's the paradox. If you didn't change, you'd have broken. If you did change, you lost what you were. Which path is survival? This is the identity paradox of resilience. Flexibility keeps you alive, but erases your shape. Rigidity keeps your form, but invites destruction. To exist in a hostile world, you must keep shifting. But each shift costs a piece of you. And by the time you've survived, who exactly survived? The doubt that strengthens the lie. Someone makes a wild claim. You know it's false, but you question it publicly, logically, relentlessly. And strangely, that pressure only makes their story stronger. People gather. They defend it. They believe harder. This is the paradox of reactive truth. Some lies feed on resistance. The more you fight them, the more real they feel to others. The human mind is stubborn. If you try too hard to tear something down, it begins to look important. Sometimes the only way to kill a lie is to stop giving it oxygen. But silence has its price too. So what do? Speak and give it power? Or go quiet and risk letting it spread? The desire that destroys satisfaction. You crave something: love, success, peace. You chase it. You get close. You taste it. But then it slips. You want more, or different, or better. The moment you have it, it's already not enough. This is the paradox of hunger with no ceiling. Desire keeps us moving, but it erases fulfillment the moment we touch it. It's like drinking salt water. The more you consume, the thirstier you become. So what is worse, having nothing or having something that can never satisfy? And if happiness disappears the moment you chase it, was it ever real? The voice that can't hear itself. You try to understand your own thoughts. You sit still. You reflect. You ask, why am I like this? But the answer always slips. You can analyze others, but yourself? It's like trying to taste your own tongue. This is the paradox of inner blindness. The mind can turn outward with precision, but struggles to look inward without distortion. You are the tool and the object, the mirror and the face. And no matter how hard you stare, the full picture never appears. It's not that you're hiding the truth. It's that your mind was never designed to fully hold itself. To know yourself completely might be impossible, but to try anyway, that's what makes you human. The escape that traps you again. You run from the past. You cut people off, burn bridges, reinvent yourself, and for a while it works. You feel light, but slowly, the same patterns return, same doubts, same mistakes, same you in a different costume. This is the paradox of internal exile. You can leave a place, but not what you brought with you. Change your name, your city, your face, but you still wake up inside the same skull. We call it reinvention, but often it's just evasion. You can't outrun your shadow, because it's not behind you, it's stitched into your feet. The truth that fades when shared. You experience something profound, a moment that breaks you open, a feeling that defines your soul. You try to explain it to someone close. You use metaphors, stories, tears, but none of it lands. And suddenly, that sacred moment feels smaller, diminished. This is the paradox of communicative erosion. Some truths are too vast for language. The moment you speak them, you reduce them. We are wired to share, but some things die in the translation. So we stay silent, or worse, we speak and feel misunderstood. And the most beautiful parts of us, they stay locked inside, slowly dimming, because the world doesn't speak that dialect. You came here for answers, but what you got were doorways, some half open, some bricked shut. And maybe that's the point, because the mind isn't a map, it's a maze. And in chasing certainty, we often trap ourselves in prettier cages. These paradoxes weren't made to be solved. They were made to haunt, to press gently against your certainty until it cracked, to whisper that maybe your logic was never yours to begin with. So if something here made your mind flinch or your gut sink, good. That means you're not just watching, you're unraveling. Someone else out there needs to feel this too. So share it, like it, and subscribe not to the channel but to the doubt that just woke up inside you.